Hey, welcome back to the show, the wrestling show. We're keeping it real. Goes right. Welcome back to Real Take Wrestle Talk. Live here on YouTube. I'm joined, as always, by the one, the only, my brother from another mother, kinda. Mr. Souton, Trevor Sutton. How you doing, man?
I'm good, my brother. How are you?
I'm good. I'm good. I'm just recovering from watching the little bit of Raw that I did actually last night. I quit after like 10 minutes. Not gonna lie.
Yeah. I didn't watch much of it.
It
I
was it,
saw like the intro, and then someone came and talked, and I was like, oh no.
someone cut a promo and I immediately changed the channel.
Yeah,
Yeah, big Raw vibes there. But we did also watch what I definitely also watched, and there's evidence of this. WWE WrestleMania Backlash. WrestleMania Backlash was this weekend. We're going to be reviewing that. We're going to be talking about some news in AEW. Big news regarding Triple Mania and AAA and AEW's working relationship. Also going to be talking about potentially the end of relationships between members of the AEW Executive Vice Presidency Committee, whatever they got going down there, all the EVPs there. Also going to be talking about much, much more from pro wrestling. But Trevor, we start on a very, very somber note. We start on a somber note because on Friday we found out that on Friday we found out that ECW legend New Jack passed away at the age of 58 from a heart attack. There was an immediate outpouring from many of his peers, including Mick Foley, Lance Storm, Taz, and many others. Paul Heyman cut a very impassioned and touching tribute for him on Talking Smack this week, just hours after learning about his death. But this was something that I think caught a lot of people off guard. It caught by surprise, especially New Jack was, to say the least, he was always full of life. He was a very, very entertaining character, very energetic person, and you heard a lot of that kind of stuff when we heard of this news for the first time. But I want to let you know because I know you've followed New Jack, you've been a fan of him for a while. So why don't you tell me, what did you think when you first heard this news, and tell us a little bit about New Jack for those who might not be familiar.
So I'll tell you the best description that I've ever heard of New Jack from actually my brother. We Me and my brother watched wrestling growing up. Always did. Wrestling was big, really prominent in my house. As I'm sure I've said this many, many times. So we were pretty much raised on it. ECW was pretty much the new kid on the block, probably the redhead stepchild on the block that everyone was interested in, but really kind of pushed it away. First match we saw from I remember distinctly was Psycho Sid wrestling someone, and it was a power bomb through like 4 or 5 different tables. And since then we were hooked. Then one day we're watching this guy, and all I hear is my brother in the living room, like, "Oh my god, what is he doing? Like, he just stabbed a guy with a fork!" And like, I come running in, and I'm like, "Who is this dude?" And neither one of us knew his name at the time, but and then like the next show came on, and you heard that NWA track pop up, and you knew who it was. New Jack. New Jack was one of those guys who a lot like Sandman, in my opinion, who really had didn't have much wrestling talent, but you remember Sandman because he came out to enter Sandman. That's why you paid attention to Sandman. Sandman came out, smashed a beer over his head, and hit motherfuckers with kendo sticks. That's why you remember Sandman. You remember New Jack because he didn't give a damn. He did not care. He didn't. He told you what he thought. He told you what he was going to do. I mean, he came out, stabbed people with objects, stabbed people with a blade that he sharpened himself. He's stabbed people with forks. He was very candid about his life behind closed doors. Like you asked, if anyone saw the Dark Side of the Ring, they were like, "Oh, did you know blah blah blah?" He was like, "No, I was been back getting high." Like he was very candid. He was very candid. I mean, he's one of the very few people that was a criminal on national TV and got paid for
it. Yeah. I mean, that's definitely one way to put it, right? You know, a lot of people, when they originally found out that New Jack passed away, you know, there was a lot of outpouring of respect. There was a lot of outpouring of, you know, like basic respect that goes along with being a wrestling fan and when a wrestler dies, you know, because while we don't know these people, I remember kind of explaining this when Brody Lee passed away. You know, that was like a very sudden type of death as well, because I would say more so because like Brody Lee was like on TV like just 2 months before, and they were still mentioning him, you know, in weeks leading up to that. Like there is a certain level of, I don't want to like it's respect, but it's also like familiarity with these wrestlers, right? Because we grow up watching them, we see them before our eyes, we see them week in and week out, and we follow their stories and we follow their lives. And you know, in the case of New Jack, he had a Dark Side of the Ring that came out last year. You know, a lot of people are rewatching Dark Side of the Ring leading up to the season premiere just recently, 2 weeks ago. So he was very much, I think, current in the minds of many wrestling fans. So I think that's something that, you know, a lot of people, I think, and I think that's a good thing because, one, we got to hear the full story of New Jack. We got to hear the full story of him and his life. And, you know, I don't know if that story would have been told had it not been for that Dark Side of the Ring. Like we know like the surface level stuff of New Jack, but we would not know you know, Jerome Young. And there's a lot of people who argue Jerome Young and New Jack are the same person, right? But I mean, yeah, like he lived, like New Jack is one of those people, he didn't live a gimmick. The gimmick lived him. So like it was very transparent. But that being said, you know, I think that's a good thing, and I think, you know, because he was so fresh in people's minds, because people had his story told, he had his story told, I think people more so showed respect when he passed away than I think they otherwise would have. And, you know, again, this is not defending any of the terrible things New Jack did. Like nobody's perfect, right? We all messed up, and New Jack will probably be the first person to tell you that, yeah, hey, I've messed up a bunch of times. But
he was never, like I said, he was never candid about that. He came out and said, I stole this, I stabbed this guy, I did coke in the back while we were waiting to be called up. Like, he said that. Like, that was New Jack. New Jack said that on national TV in front of everybody that was watching on Dark Side of the Ring. Like, that's his life. That was him.
Yeah, and again, it's one of those things where I don't think, and there were some people online who did point out, you know, things like the mass transit incident, things like, you know, the match he had with Gypsy Joe where he basically beat up this like 75-year-old man, and you know, it's, and yeah, like again, if you judge a person by the worst thing they've ever done, depending on what that is, also, then yeah, everyone's gonna be terrible, but. I think, you know, there's a time and place to discuss those things. I wouldn't say like right now is the time to discuss those things. You know, New Jack, for better or worse, the story of professional wrestling can't be told definitely without New Jack. No, that is 100% true, and you know, I'm glad he got his story got documented in Dark Side of the Ring. I'm glad that he was able to really express himself on that platform, on that biggest stage, because he hadn't been able to do that throughout his wrestling career. So, that being said, you know, rest in peace, New Jack. From Real Take Wrestle Talk, Real Take Sports, we definitely give our condolences to your family. We give our condolences to your friends, everyone, and yeah, man, it's weird.
Heaven just gains the gangster.
Yeah.
It definitely
did. And yeah, I mean, like I don't even know how to transition. like I was gonna think of a transition, but it's weird, you know, it's weird. Anyway, but yeah, so you know, I'm sure we'll talk about New Jack plenty of times because there's plenty to talk about, given how many shoot interviews he's done over the years.
Exactly.
But actually, I have one more question for you. Specifically, like about New Jack, before we move on to our Backlash review, which we'll get to. what do you think New Jack's legacy is gonna be? Like, because just like if somebody asked you that, what is New Jack's legacy that now that he's gone, and what is he kind of left, and what's the impact that he's left on the wrestling scene today?
So, like you mentioned earlier, the story of wrestling cannot be told without New Jack. And it's absolutely true. Not to discredit his wrestling ability, but he wasn't the greatest. He wasn't the greatest wrestler, and he'll sit there and tell you he wasn't the greatest wrestler. New Jack's legacy, in my opinion, would be just that. Just being as real and as gangster as he possibly could be to survive, to get through. Because New Jack was one of the first. I mean, you had your Brian Pillmans, you had your stunning Steve Austin, you had Sabu's, you had guys that literally didn't give a fuck, but they didn't come out and say, I don't give a fuck. Let me take this blade and stab this dude. Like, that was New Jack. New Jack, literally, what he said was what he was going to do. So I believe when you look back on New Jack's legacy, his legacy would be probably to do something so messed up that you remember him for it. So shock and awe. And that shows, like you said, the mass transit incident. That shows that is very prevalent in that particular incident. So yeah, that's his legacy. Shock and awe.
Yeah, I mean, it definitely shocked me when I first saw it. I think I was like 10 when I first saw the clip of it on YouTube or something. So it definitely shocked me. And again, yeah, you're right. I think for better or worse, as I said, New Jack will 100% be remembered by many pro wrestling fans, especially a lot of those wrestling fans of that ECW Extreme era in wrestling. So again, rest in peace, New Jack, man. Jerome Young, gone at the age of 58. Moving on, Trevor, to much lighter things. Hopefully, WWE Backlash. Sorry, WWE WrestleMania Backlash.
Don't you forget that. Don't
forget it, man. The marketing. WrestleMania Backlash was this past weekend. We saw some good matches. We saw some pretty freaking bad matches, and we also saw zombies. But we'll get to running through the card, Trevor. But just first impressions of WrestleMania Backlash. What did we think overall of the show? What were some ups, some downs? Well, what do you think?
Again, SmackDown was the ups. I honestly believe SmackDown was the ups. It's just so bad how bad Raw is. It really is. It's just, I mean, even though, like, I will say the triple threat women's match was not bad. It was not a bad match.
It's a hard-hitting match, yeah. I like that match much more than I thought. Here's one thing that I noticed, and I'll let you finish. I'm sorry to interrupt.
But, you're fine.
But one thing I noticed, dude. So when I was doing a live stream on this channel, right? I was doing a live stream for Backlash, and I remember I forgot completely about the Raw WWE Championship match. Forgot about it entirely. Like, it left my mind, was not even on my radar. I was like, oh yeah, there's only one match left. It's the Universal title match. Let's go. I was excited. I was like, this is the match I've been waiting for. Cesaro's big moment. And then I look at the match card that I have in front of me, and there's the WWE title match, a triple threat. And I'm like, Braun Strowman, Drew McIntyre, Bobby Lashley. I should not be upset about this match being on, but I was like, I was deflated. It took me out of it. I was like, and it wasn't, and we'll get into it, but it wasn't a bad match. It was just one of those things where every Raw match that I saw, there was like a bit of like dread in me because I didn't really care, if I'm being frank with you. I didn't really care. And I'm someone who's given Raw a chance. I've given Raw so many chances over the past like
a lot of us have.
But man, the build up to their pay-per-views, the overall show is just bad, and like you don't care. Like I said, you just don't care. And yeah, SmackDown, man. Like SmackDown, I was like the Bianca Belair Bayley match. I was all in on. I was looking forward to that. And Bianca Belair, I think she's gotten so much. Like she's by far like one of the best performers in WWE there is. Like she proved herself in that. Like not only in that match, but like she's been churning out great performances, especially since a WrestleMania match with
She really
Sasha
has.
Banks. Yeah.
She really
But
has.
man, the Raw side of things, like, it was just and then the commentary was so bad too. It was just nothing to look forward to in these Raw
No, the
matches,
commentary
man.
with SmackDown isn't that great either. But it's not as bad as Raw. I don't think.
Yeah. So again, those are my impressions. I thought we'll talk about the zombies separately. But let's talk about this first because this was an interesting thing. A lot of people thought that this would be the match where we would see the only title change of the night, and it was true. So Rey Mysterio and Dominik Mysterio defeated Dolph Ziggler and Bobby Roode to become the first ever WWE father and son tag team champions. The story of the match was Dominik was injured. He was hurt before the match by Ziggler and Roode. They threw a couch on him, which apparently somehow hurt him in his sternum. Weird injury. Ray told him, you can't go. I'll go do this. It'll be a handicap match. I'll do this on my own. He didn't want his son to get hurt. And that was the story of the match. Rey Mysterio getting beat up by Roode and Ziggler for about 10 minutes. And then Dominik comes in, makes his return, and he comes in and he saves his dad from a big beating. And they end up winning the match. So a lot of people think that, this was a way for them to get the tag titles off of Roode and Ziggler so they can eventually get them on the Usos. That's a lot of reports indicate that because they want, Jimmy and Jey Uso to be the tag team champions with Roman Reigns being the Universal Champion, have that be a big faction, powerful faction running SmackDown, which I think that's going to be the eventual plan. But what do you think just of the match? Because I thought it was the story of the match was good. The storytelling in the match was actually amazing. And I think a lot of that is due to Rey Mysterio, Dolph Ziggler, and Bobby Roode being amazing performers. But what did you think about the match and the outcome and where it might lead to?
I agree with you. Like you said, that storytelling was amazing. And it also comes down to, again, the amazing performers in that match. And honestly, I don't think amazing performer and Dolph Ziggler are said in the same sentence enough. I've always thought Dolph was an amazing performer. Bobby Roode as well. I liked the work Bobby did in Impact. I thought Impact, he was too good for Impact, which is why he's not there anymore. But yeah, I've always liked both of them. And honestly, Dominik Mysterio is actually really coming to his own. I love one of the biggest upsides to Dominik to me is the fact that he does have a little size. He has a little height to him, and he doesn't actually have the girth of his dad, but he has the height, and I think that's going to help him a lot, honestly. And I just thought the match overall was good. I'm glad to see them both get the championship, but I agree that it's going to be the Usos taking it off them. Even though I kind of would like to see the Dirty Dogs go against the Usos, though. I just love their tag team prowess. I love their tag team work. Honestly,
you gotta have a face and a heel, pal. That's wrestling. Wait, sports entertainment. Sorry.
I mean, according to the big boss, that's what it is. But honestly, I think the Dirty Dogs versus Usos is a match that a lot of people would love to see.
Yeah, I mean, I think a lot of hardcore wrestling fans would love to see that match. I just don't think that's a match that Vince would like to see. And at the end of the day, that's all that matters in WWE.
All that matters, yeah.
But, again, this is one of those things I was watching this and I was like, I'm happy Bobby Roode is out there doing something because
absolutely.
It was I was just like, for the longest time, I was like, oh my God, Roode is like stuck in this, like he's chasing R-Truth around for the 24/7 title. That's like the bottom of the barrel in WWE. That's how you're just jobber level. Nobody in creative cares about you. That's that's how you have not made it. In fact, you are failing. Not even failing, but you're being set up to fail in WWE. So I was glad to see him, have a great match and show what he can do because, man, Bobby Roode in this match was amazing, man. Like, the ring psychology is amazing. Like, Bobby Roode, to me, I've always thought he is one of the most cerebral wrestlers there was in that early era of TNA. Like, he, to me, was like TNA's version of, like, Triple H to an extent. Backstage politicking aside, because, Roode never really did any of that, he was really able to, you know, bring those extra things into a match to make it make sense. Though that ring psychology that we always talk about, you know, how Sasha Banks has it, how Triple H has it, like Bobby Roode is right up there with those people in having that great ring psychology. So seeing him, you know, work with Ray, I think really made this match work. You know, Ziggler's good, right? Ziggler's very good, actually. Yeah, but you know, like I thought the moments where it was Rey Mysterio and Bobby Roode, those were like, you know, the best moments of the match. And you know, it's a feel good moment. Like you can't hate on Rey and Dominik Mysterio winning the tag titles, right? You can't hate on that because like you saw the expression on their faces. They were both happy. Like I think Rey's like this is by far gonna be like Rey's like most favorite title win in WWE.
Of course.
Like, or ever. Like, come on. Like, you can't beat winning a title with your son. Like, that's a dream come true, you know? And again, Dominik has come a long way. Like, man, this is long-term booking at its finest. From SummerSlam 2005 to, God, dude, a child. The custody of a child on a ladder, like, that, oof. Oof. Oh
yeah, that was storyline.
He's come a long way from. Is it true, Dad? Is it really true?
Tell him, man. Let him know.
He is not your father. I am.
Not father. It was terrible.
Oh God, that was so bad. Hey, R.I.P. Eddie Guerrero. We love Eddie on this, but damn, that was
terrible.
That was. Look. The meme of that entire storyline is amazing, but man, that was bad. That was bad.
So bad.
Anyway, moving on to something that was even worse than that storyline involving a child's custody in a ladder match. Let's talk about that lumberjack match, or how I'm calling it, Zombie Mania 2021. So. Let's talk about it.
To be honest, I don't even know what led up to this dumb shit. I'm not even gonna lie to you.
Yeah.
You can enlighten me a little bit.
I'm pretty sure I told you to like skip this match if you watched it. I was just like, yeah, don't even bother. So let me preface this by saying one of the things WWE pushed heavily on Sunday was Batista's new movie, Army of the Dead, is coming out, and it's about him and a crew fighting zombies.
Right.
Arguably, a lot of people would say it's very similar to Zombieland, but I digress. But that was being pushed big time all night, and I think we found out why it was being pushed and how it might play into the Backlash pay-per-view in a backstage segment before the match where The Miz tells John Morrison to go out there and go talk to the Lumberjacks, convince them to be on the Miz's side. So John Morrison, he walks over to the Lumberjacks locker room because apparently Lumberjacks just have a locker room. It said the little WWE logo with the Lumberjacks on it. It was very strange. I'm assuming that's the Jobber locker room. But
yeah.
but Trevor, it was not. It was the Lumberjacks in this case were all zombies. An army of the undead had its own locker room in WWE with zombies and the fog and everything. And then when the Lumberjacks were called out or to the ring, the zombies came out of nowhere from the barricade and climbed over, and this was bad. This was bad. I originally thought this was gonna be like, you know, Damian Priest's big, like, you know, coming out like showcase for him. And the zombies just took away from that so much. It was not great.
And then they apparently mauled Miz at the end,
there was one good thing in this match that I actually kind of popped for. When the zombies, like when John Morrison's on the barricade and the zombies like kind of pull him down and take him down, I kind of popped for that. Everything else was pretty bad. Like the Miz, God help him, tried to make it work. It didn't work. This was bad. This is gonna be like one of those moments. Like, you remember how we look back at WCW from 1995, the Dungeon of Doom. This is gonna be like one of those moments in like 20 years. You're gonna be like, oh my God, like this is. I'd be mad if I was watching this live, but I am 20 years later. I'm having the time of my life, laughing at your company, brother. Like,
you know, if I'm John Morrison, if I'm Damian Priest, the Miz and Damian Priest, I'm sorry, I'd be pissed, honestly, that I even had to participate in something this fucking stupid. Like, it's one thing to make certain things comedic and also make them enjoyable to watch. This was it wasn't even close to being enjoyable to watch. The only reason you were laughing is to keep from fucking crying how bad it was. it's it was just terrible. It was bad. So bad.
Yeah, I wasn't laughing really for much of this match. Like if you watch a live stream, I was just kind of like, I'm trying to get into this match, but I just can't. It was god awful.
It was that bad. Like, and then like I said, at the end when they so called ate the Miz, like
Wrestling, thou art a heartless bitch.
sometimes a dumb bitch too, apparently.
Oh my god! And we use that in a neutral term because
Exactly.
because Vince is writing it. This is mostly directed to Vince McMahon. Trevor, let's move on from this because that sucked. Let's talk about the WWE Championship match, a triple threat match for the WWE Championship. You had three big hosses in this match: Bobby Lashley, Braun Strowman, and the former WWE Champion Drew McIntyre. The match ended with Lashley pinning a prone Strowman, who McIntyre had already hit with his kick, and Bobby Lashley was able to get Drew McIntyre out of the ring and hit Strowman with a spear, hit the 1-2-3, and Bobby Lashley retained. This was everything you thought it would be. There's a lot of hard hitting, people like throwing each other through tables. We had a spot where Drew McIntyre threw Bobby Lashley through the LED board on the entrance ramp. So, it was a good hard hitting match. That being said, I think this is you kind of already knew the result going in. They weren't gonna change the belt at Backlash, so a lot of people would say having this match with these three big stars right now wouldn't be smart. Maybe you have individual matches with different pairings of these three people and build that up for SummerSlam where there's an actual threat, because people might think that Bobby Lashley is vulnerable and Bobby Lashley's title could possibly change hands at a big event like that. So that would have been, I think, the smart thing to do. But, they had the match. It is what it is. Trevor, what did you think?
Like you said, I kind of felt like this match was a waste at this pay-per-view. You know what I mean? First off, the pay-per-view name overall is a joke anyway. So Backlash, WrestleMania Backlash, WrestleMania, whatever the fuck it is. It's terrible. And so I kind of thought dropping Bobby Lashley dropping the title here wouldn't make much sense, like you said. And I believe, in my opinion, you could have put him with against Strowman or against someone else. Like, honestly, this match with this caliber of talent shouldn't have been on such a small stage. It should have been on something like on SummerSlam or something or Survivor Series or something that people actually pay attention to. I think this is another case of WWE dropping the ball and missing the mark. Hello?
Yeah, I agree. Real quick, I gotta go. Real quick, we're gonna take a very quick break. We'll be right back to discuss the rest of this match. So stay tuned. We'll be right back. we are back. Sorry about that. A little bit of a technical difficulty, but we are back, like as I said. All right, Trevor. So before we took a break, you were talking about how the match, was kind of underwhelming because like it was kind of a waste. You knew what was going to happen, and I think that was a story of a lot of the matches here. And they didn't even build it up properly to the extent where you're excited. Like you could say like the Roman Reigns Cesaro match. People were excited to see that, even though a lot of people knew that Cesaro probably wasn't going to win.
Of course.
And but they made it matter because this was Cesaro's first big one-on-one match for a world title. So what did you think about, just like the dynamic of this match, I guess, and just in the finish itself? They kind of like, they weren't going to put Drew in a position of weakness, so you kind of figure, Strowman's probably going to end up taking a win. What does it mean for Strowman, man? Because, every time he gets any bit of momentum, they pin him. They just kill him. Yeah.
Like you said, I pretty much knew it wasn't going to be McIntyre. Of course. The person he pinned was not going to be McIntyre, not one bit. Like, it's just, don't get me wrong. Does Drew deserve the fanfare and how important the WWE makes him and thinks he is? Yes, because like we've said time and time again, he helped carry this company through one of the hardest times in America, in the world, like through a pandemic. He carried it on his back. So yes, he deserves a lot of the so quote unquote special treatment he gets. But Braun Strowman doesn't deserve the knife in the back he gets quite constantly. Like you have a good talent. You have someone who people actually enjoy watching. For a long time, Braun Strowman was over more than anybody. "Come get these hands" was a quote that 5-year-olds said. Like, you heard that.
And 10-year-olds in the case of Nicholas.
Terrible. But that's just my point. Like, he was over. And you jobbed him against Brock Lesnar, which that was stupid. You dicked him against Roman Reigns, even though him and Roman Reigns matches were actually very entertaining. That little feud they had at one point was great. And you dicked him against was it Goldberg? No, it was Bray. They dicked Bray against Goldberg. But it's just, it just doesn't make any sense.
Bad.
I don't
it was
keep fucking with him.
Yeah, it was like the match wasn't okay. The match wasn't bad, but it was just like you didn't care. You didn't care because you knew the result going in, and it wasn't gonna really build anything. It's not gonna build anything. Raw has been bad. Like Braun Strowman's not gonna get any better for it. And he probably could use it at this point. Lashley's gonna be about the same because did he really vanquish anyone? Yeah, he got a clean pin, but at the same time, I don't know. Again, it's just a waste. You don't have this match at this pay-per-view. Maybe at I think what are they doing? They're doing some pay-per-view next month. Oh, they're doing Hell in a Cell next month, by the way. Oh my God. It's a summer of hell in a cell, pal. What do you think about that? What do you think about Hell in a Cell?
I used to love Hell in a Cell, actually, but I thought Hell in a Cell was best in October, where it was, because it's kind of like a Halloween type thing. You know what I mean? I thought it was best.
No, pal. We got the horror show at Extreme Rules in October now.
Fucking hate people.
Dude, you hate person. But no, you know what? Here's the thing. I don't like Hell in a Cell, the pay-per-view. I like the Hell in a Cell match when it was like the end to blood feuds and feuds that couldn't be settled anywhere else. But ever since they started doing come on, I don't want to see two the main event of this random feud you put together inside of Hell in a Cell. They don't really mean much anymore. No, and that's the dilution of all stipulation matches in WWE because it's one thing for the Royal Rumble because the Royal Rumble something's always on the line. That's like a mainstay. That's like the playoffs in a little bit for WWE. But Hell in a Cell is just goddamn, pal. All right. Who's wrestling this month? Man. So we got again bad Bruce Pritchard.
Bruce Pritchard.
we got Vince. We got John Cena and Tajiri in a Hell in a Cell. You know I love you. Like, come on.
If you watch this at all, and I'm pretty sure you don't, but if you watch this all and you think that's as terrible as I think it is, please send me a tweet.
you know. But no, I don't like Hell in a Cell. And something else that I didn't like initially was the build up for the Raw Women's Championship match. Let's talk about this. So the Raw Women's Championship match, champion Rhea Ripley defending her title against Asuka, the former champion, and Charlotte, who was added to the match the week before this pay-per-view. The story of the match was, all the women getting really hit, like hard-hitting action against each other. Asuka laid it in very stiff in this match. You could tell she was laying it in. I thought the exchanges they had, like the one-on-one exchanges they had in the matches were really, really good. Charlotte Flair was doing moonsaults off the top rope, multiple moonsaults off the top rope. There were spots where they tried to do, a double figure eight. That obviously didn't work. Asuka almost won, but alas, Rhea Ripley was able to pull off the victory after Asuka was distracted by Charlotte, who she threw out of the ring. Hit Asuka with her move. 1, 2, 3. Rhea Ripley retains, and Asuka took the pinfall. Trevor, my man, what did you think of this?
Again, I liked them. I thought the action was amazing. The story wasn't all that great, but the match was amazing. I am a little sick of them making Asuka like a joke, though. Like we've talked about before. I'm kind of sick of them like taking Asuka and like making her. She's probably one of the most decorated wrestlers in that particular female wrestler in that particular match, and I hate how they dumbed her down so it's pretty much this joke. Like she seems like an idiot. Like some of the promos she does and stuff like that, her ranting and raving and like just screaming and shit. It's just dumb. I don't like it, but it was a stiff ass match, and I was actually surprised that Charlotte could go as stiff as she did. But I wasn't really surprised by Rhea or Asuka because that's the MO, both of them. But I was very, very impressed by Charlotte in this match.
Yeah. I thought that, this was a good showcase for all three performers. I thought they had a really good match. But again, one of the things that I do think takes away from this match and also the WWE Championship match is the fact that they were both triple threat matches, and they were both being built up in very similar ways, and they were both coming from the same brand, from the same show, Monday Night Raw. Like that's like overbooking, man. Like that's like one of the major things about wrestling. Protect your spot, protect your the gimmick that you're going with, right? You're doing a triple threat match from Raw. Do one championship triple threat match. Don't make the main titles both triple threat matches just because when you can obviously avoid it. And again, it was weird. And it's just one of those things where I don't think Raw I don't get it. I really don't get it because it's literally the same people writing the damn shows. And Raw is just so much worse. And it's not the people because they have probably just as good, if not better talent than SmackDown. But Raw's just really bad.
I feel like at this point is when it comes to like NXT and it comes to SmackDown, they're all like, okay, guys, this is a really good idea I have. Let's go with this. Okay, let's think about it. Yeah, let's do this. But when they do Raw, it's pretty much like, all right, this is what's gonna happen. Some shit's gonna happen. Somebody's gonna be this, and Vince is gonna piss on the whole thing. Who cares? Like it's just bad. It doesn't. It really should not be as bad as it is. It really should. But, because like you said, they have these same writers. It doesn't make any sense.
You're telling me, I love you is on Monday nights. Like that's his night that he chooses to phone it in.
I mean, at this point, he probably doesn't even give a shit.
And he is hardest working man in pro wrestling these days. Is Bruce Pritchard.
He is. He definitely is.
Yeah, when he is actually doing his podcast, when he's not phoning it in on there, which he's been doing a lot of recently. You know who didn't phone in anything? Bayley and Bianca Belair. This was a match we were looking forward to, Trevor. Both of us were looking forward to greatly. Bianca Belair defended her SmackDown Women's Championship against Bayley, who obviously was left off the card at WrestleMania. That was a big complaint from her going into this match. And the two went out there, had a pretty good match. There was a bit of a weird botchy ending with Bianca Belair's hair getting caught up. But, Bayley wasn't in the roll-up. But the match ended up with Bianca Belair using her hair to kind of tie down Bayley's leg and get some leverage in a roll-up. 1, 2, 3. Belair retains. Again, bit of a sloppy finish, though. What did you think about the match? Because I thought this was one of Bianca Belair's, this was a test for Bianca Belair coming off of WrestleMania. Can she continue this momentum? Can she continue the pace that she's going at? And, man, I think there's no question. Bianca Belair is a superstar, and she's here to stay.
I agree. I totally agree. It was a botchy finish, but honestly, that I don't think that should take away from the overall product, which was absolutely amazing. The match was better than I thought it was going to be. Well, I thought it was going to be amazing. It was better than that. So, it was. I mean, Bianca Belair showed that she deserved to have that belt. I mean, and Bayley, they put on a great show. Bayley and her worked well together, which I kind of thought they were. We both talked about that as well. It was just overall a great match, and it was worth watching. Like I said, again, the botchy finish, but for me it doesn't take away from the product. It was just really good.
Yeah, I thought this was a really good match. Bianca Belair had some just amazing. Like she's so good. She's gotten the most important part of wrestling that she, I think, was missing for a little bit there when she first started in WWE, and that is, being able to go in there and tell a story with your facial expressions.
Right.
And obviously, a lot of young performers, they don't have that originally, but man, she and there's a reason. There's a reason why she won the Royal Rumble, and it's because of the fact that she got that, because that's all she was really missing. We knew she was athletic. We knew she was able to work in the ring, and she's just getting better and better every week. Her promos are getting better. She is turning into one of the best all-around performers in WWE today. So I have huge expectations for her, and she's always just at least meeting or exceeding my expectations, especially at WrestleMania, man. I'm still that was a special match. It's someone you're gonna go back and watch, and you just be like, man, this was something. And Bayley, obviously, she's amazing. She Bianca Belair, I think, can continue this feud moving forward. I do think that Bayley in her my favorite thing about Bayley, by the way, this is my on favorite thing about Bayley, is her immediate reaction when something doesn't go her way. Is to run to the announcing table and scream at Michael Cole. I love that. That is,
it's the greatest thing ever.
And it might hurt her because in my book that makes her a super baby face. Because I think it's universal. Everyone hates Michael Cole. So I think Bayley's great. I want to see this continue into the summer. And I do think that, Bayley potentially could be someone that could take the title off of Bianca one day. And that would lead to, I think, a really good chase for Bianca and get the fans behind her even more. So
I just hope because, it's going to happen. Whenever they do drop the belt from Bianca, I just hope it's not one of those Kofi Kingston situations. You get what I mean? Where they just, he'll probably never have the belt again. And I hope it's one of those that she gets it again. I hope they see that she can do it, that she can take on this task, and that they give it to her again.
Yeah,
because she has star power.
Here's the thing: unless you're gonna work to Bianca Belair, unless you work to Bianca Belair, regaining the title, I don't even want her to lose it. To be honest with you, I don't think she should lose it.
No.
The only unless she's chasing the heel in that scenario, the only reason you take it off of her is if Ronda Rousey one day returns to WWE. Then I could see you taking it off of her. Because also, I don't want to see, that's a big if, because I don't know what her contract status is. I'm pretty sure she's not signed there, but if she ever does come back to wrestling.
And now she's having a baby, so.
Yeah. It will, obviously after that, right? But, if Ronda Rousey does come back, man, I don't want to see her on Raw. No, I can't. No.
I don't want to see Becky Lynch on Raw when she comes back.
I'm going to be forced to watch Raw when Becky comes. Becky, I love you, but don't come back. not
to Raw. Not to Raw.
Not to Raw. Not to Raw, please. Please. By the way, Becky Lynch just signed a multi-year mega deal with WWE.
I saw that, yeah.
Yeah, and hey, bless her, man. I hope she got paid. Like, dude, she genuinely deserves to be like one of, if not the highest paid person in that company.
Dude, like, for a long time, she was the most over wrestler in wrestling. Not for boys, not for girls, not for kangaroos, for just
kangaroos. Wait, what kangaroos?
Shut up!
My God. No, like
terrible analogy, but still, you know what I mean.
Yeah, she was. No, that's the thing. There was a time where she was selling the most merch. She was selling like she was obviously the most over. She's probably still like, I think her and Daniel Bryan are the most over people in wrestling.
She had the highest selling T-shirt for like 3 months, 6 months.
Not even 3 months, dude. I think it was like a solid like from.
Was it a solid year? I know it was basically 6 months.
It was basically a solid year. It was from when she got that man gimmick really took off, like the end of 2018, early 2019. She won the Royal Rumble. That really skyrocketed it. Unified Women's Champion. Like that basically 2019 was like the year of the man, Becky Lynch. We love Becky. Cannot wait to see her come back. You know what I couldn't wait to see on Sunday though? This main event. Roman Reigns, the Universal Champion Roman Reigns, defended his title against the challenger Cesaro in what was Cesaro's first ever one-on-one match for a world title in WWE. We saw what happened. There was a big hype around this match. Cesaro, obviously, this was built around him trying to defend Daniel Bryan's honor after Roman Reigns viciously attacked Bryan after retiring him, hitting him with a concerto. Cesaro not only wants revenge for his friend, but also he wants to finally get that brass ring, and he wants his first ever major title in wrestling. He wants his first ever world title in wrestling. That was the story of the match, and this was a great match. This was storytelling all night, other than Zombie Mania, was through the roof. Amazing storytelling at Backlash. This match was a great cap to that. The story of the match was Cesaro's injured right shoulder. They were working that the entire night. So he was really selling that the entire night, and they made it look like a big injury. Roman Reigns was obviously able to take advantage of that, putting him in the chokehold that he does, and making Cesaro pass out for the win, retaining the title. After the match, Jey Uso attacked Cesaro rather, with Roman Reigns' blessing, and then we saw the return of the Messiah, Seth Rollins. That's my Seth Rollins whiny heel impersonation.
That's absolutely terrible, but it's just as bad as his. It's just as bad as his heel turn right now. So
Seth Rollins came out and he attacked Cesaro and really injured his arm. He Pillmaned his arm, pinning it between a chair and then hitting it against the turnbuckle. So it looks like Cesaro and Rollins are going to feud from now on. That's going to be, I think, where this goes forward. Trevor, what did you think about this match? First and foremost, we'll talk about the aftermath. What did you think about this match and the story they told in it and how Cesaro looked? What do you think?
You know, a lot of people that I know that I do this podcast with, they hopped on a couple of things that we said last week about Cesaro. Like, what do you mean Cesaro? Cesaro's not that good. He's just a mid-carder. He's only a mid-carder because they made him a mid-carder. Like, Cesaro has put on some great wrestling matches, even in WWE, which they don't really cater to him at all. But he has put on some great matches, and he proved it again with this match. Like, Cesaro is a hell of a performer. It's a damn shame that he's never held a main title. But he is a great performer, an amazing performer, and him and Roman Reigns tore the house down. Like, and I loved them. They're working together. Their spots, everything, the storytelling, amazing, great. Honestly, him and Seth Rollins is going to be a great feud. It has been recently, but I guess my thing now is where does Roman Reigns go? Like, and that's my thing. Like, so you haven't seen Edge since WrestleMania. You haven't. I mean, he's done this program with Daniel Bryan to death. Daniel Bryan's gone now. He's had this program with Cesaro. Now, who's next? Now, is it one of the Uso brothers? One of the Uso brothers turn his back on him and comes at him? Or, like, what are you going to do? Like, I mean, there are so many things you could do. Like, I mean, you could have Seth Rollins go at him. Like, I mean, it's a bunch of things you can possibly do. But I'm just curious what direction they take this.
Yeah, and I do think that's the question coming out of this, because we know that Cesaro is likely going to be, they're going to play up this injury angle with him probably for the next few weeks. Maybe Seth Rollins gets the Hell in a Cell match with Roman Reigns, the big time Hell in a Cell match for the Universal title next month. Maybe they don't even do a Universal title match next month. What I want to see from the Roman Reigns thing, I kind of want to see a little bit of Brock Lesnar, because I know your big thing about Brock Lesnar that you didn't like was that he was never there, and he wasn't a fighting champion. He didn't defend it every month, right? But I thought, see, here's the thing. There's a difference between not being there at all, like Lesnar was, and not wrestling every month, not defending your title every month, right? I think there is a difference there. Because Roman Reigns, I think, got to the point where, is at the point where where Lesnar was, where it's like, I don't think he needs to defend the title every month, and actually, I think it would be probably better if they didn't, because it would just be a waste of a championship match at this point, to be honest, because we know he's going to win, right? I want it to be a little bit, like, it doesn't have to be like, oh my God, 6 months and he doesn't defend the title. No, but like, the major shows, like SummerSlam, Survivor Series, maybe like Hell in a Cell, like he should defend the titles there, and, in between, you don't really need to have him wrestle at every pay-per-view. He should still be on SmackDown every week, and he probably will be, cutting these amazing promos with Paul Heyman, showing his dominance, being like, hey, I'm not wrestling at Fastlane next month, because who the hell am I wrestling, defending this title at Fastlane? I only play for the big money, right? And I think that actually makes watching a Universal title match or World title match even more exciting, because you're like, okay, this actually matters, because Roman Reigns is actually, defending the belt, and it gives you time to build up other stars. And that's like the one thing I think that's different than if you did it like Brock Lesnar did, because Lesnar would just never be on TV. Right. You would forget.
That's what I was about to say. Like, it's one thing to have Roman Reigns do that as a gimmick. It's another thing to have him do it like Brock Lesnar did, and it be like his actual career. Like, it was in Brock's contract. He just did it. He didn't want to be on TV. He was never on TV. He was on TV every once in a while when they actually had him in a big program with another wrestler, and he never defended a belt. And so you have a one-sided card where you need somebody to fill in, and he wasn't there. Like, I honestly believe that gimmick with Roman Reigns would work. It'd be money, because it would be a gimmick. Like, it would really be a gimmick.
Yes.
This was Brock Lesnar. And
that was him. That was him. I think they shot. It's the first time ever someone's been shooted into a work. So like, I mean, but I think that could work, and it would be beneficial, I think, because again, like I do see it at this point being a waste of a Universal title match. If you, oh my God, Roman's gonna wrestle at fucking Roadblock, like defending the title against, I don't know, like the guy Heath Slater. I don't even know. No, that was a bad example, because he's not even with WWE. But you know what I'm saying. Like build it up to where Roman is, an attraction. Build it up where Roman is is actually only wrestling when his title is threatened, and it will make those matches mean even more, because like AEW. AEW don't defend their titles every single month, right? No. I mean, other than Darby Allin, right? But he has an open challenge. But but Kenny Omega isn't out there actively defending his title every month, or Jon Moxley, especially before him, or Chris Jericho. They did it for money. They did it at the big money pay-per-views, and and those matches, those are like the big time matches, because when you're going into a UFC show to watch a championship match, those UFC competitors probably haven't wrestled or fought in over 6 months or whatever, or a few months.
36 months, yeah.
Right. So for them, for you watching it, it's like this big attraction. All right, it's the world title match. It means something. Anything could happen. And I think you could bring a similar feeling back to SmackDown and the Universal title scene with kind of spacing out Roman Reigns defending his title at these pay-per-views, because again, you don't need to have him defending his title at B pay-per-views. I just think that's a waste. Unless there's a big time match you need to do immediately. But again, I don't really see anyone there who you need to do a big time match with that you don't do at SummerSlam. I think when Edge comes back, hopefully you do a program with him and Roman at SummerSlam, and I think that's a money match, So. And that's not saying I didn't like Roman versus Cesaro. I loved the match, and I thought it was great. This is like an exception to that rule. This is what I'm talking about when I say unless there's a feud you need to do right now. But again, thought that was great. As far as who is next for Roman Reigns, honestly, man, if you want me to be honest, I think what is it now, May? I think you keep him off. You keep not off TV, but you keep him. You don't have him wrestle at Hell in a Cell, man, because you can't no one's gonna be in a Hell in a Cell.
Put a number one contender match in a Hell in a Cell.
There we go. There you go. You're a better booker than most people in WWE.
This cup is a better booker than most people in WWE.
Big facts. But yeah, no, that's a good idea. Have a number one contenders match at the next pay-per-view. And then here's the thing. You want fantasy booking? I'll give you fantasy booking. Have Roman wrestle whatever the next pay-per-view is. Extreme Rules, Fastlane, whatever the fuck is in July. Have him wrestle the winner of that number one contenders match. Have him win, and then that opens the door for an Edge return potentially that night, and you build up the feud between him and Edge to SummerSlam, and that's going to be the big show where fans finally return, or again for full-time return. So here you go, WWE. It's in your court. The ball is in your court, Vince.
Come on, Vinny.
Take the shot. Take the shot. And as far as Cesaro and Rollins, they're probably going to wrestle in Hell in a Cell. That would be. Don't put the world title match in Hell in a Cell. Put that match in Hell in a Cell, because at this point, that's like the big blood feud you got right now.
That would make more sense, and it'd be very entertaining because both guys can work. So,
goddamn, pal. You gotta be, Seth. You gotta be snarlier.
Is it snarly enough for you, Vince? I'm the world champion.
He looks like Gargamel from the Smurfs when he does that.
Yeah, Seth Rollins, man. Heel Rollins is so. I'm not gonna lie to you. It's annoying, but it's actually great. It's actually kind of great.
It actually is really fucking entertaining.
All right, let's move on, Trevor. Let's actually move on to something outside of WWE and AEW. I'm gonna surprise you here with a little bit of a swerve. Let's talk about your boy Nick fucking Gage.
Fucking Nick Gage.
Dark Side of the Ring premiered the story of Nick Gage last week. We saw the very, very interesting and at some points fucked up story of Nick Gage and his career in wrestling. Him literally dying during a death match, being flown to a hospital, dead for 7 minutes, being revived. Him robbing a bank and then going to jail, but then coming back, making his return. And him injuring David Arquette. A lot of stuff that, I didn't know beforehand. But man, there were a lot of big WTF moments from this documentary. But Trevor, you were a big Nick Gage fan, and I think you knew a lot of this stuff going in. But what did you think? What did you think of the documentary, the way it was put together, and what were some things that you potentially didn't know going in about Nick Gage?
I thought that again, Dark Side of the Ring does an amazing job. Amazing job. Like seriously, we love Dark Side of the Ring here. We do. I think they do an absolutely amazing job. So one thing I didn't know. Now I knew their history was back long ago. Him and Don Moxley, but I didn't know that their first match, that Moxley had no idea that he was going to cut him with the pizza cutter. Like I didn't know that. I heard rumors about that before, but I wasn't sure. Like, but I knew there were different matches where they had no idea he was going to cut him, especially like the David Arquette match. He had no idea about the light tube. He claims he had no idea about the light tube. Nick Gage, before this documentary, Nick Gage and a lot of other people say he knew. He had no idea, but he beat the holy shit out of David Arquette, which David Arquette was, of course, not happy about it. Who would be? He got stabbed with a fucking light tube. But another, actually, a side note, all you wrestling fans who are interested in watching this, watch the David Arquette documentary. Absolutely amazing. It absolutely worth watching. He has gone through a lot of shit. Watch that. Definitely watch that. But yeah, so when he died for 7 minutes and got helicoptered away to the hospital, I was at that match.
What, really?
Yeah, I was at that match. That was the match.
I gotta go through the footage to try to find you.
I was
in one of the shots.
If the ring was the entrance is where I am, right? And he comes down to the ring this way. On the other side, I was right by the ring with my two other friends, and they set up these light tubes, and my boys backed away because it was about to be a big slam or whatever. I was just sitting there in the stands like, whoa, like this dumbass, like pants covered in this dust. But yeah, so I remember, like I said, I think I mentioned this last week when we were talking about Nick Gage, but I did it off camera. I don't know. But anyway, so the match happens. Nick had wrestled earlier that day. He comes out, and the spot happens, and anyone who saw the documentary knows he hit a piece of jagged light tube, and it hit him in his armpit. And for those of you that don't know anything about the human body, there are two main veins. One is runs, well, actually three if you count them both. But anyway, so one that runs in the inside of both your legs, which is unfortunately how former football player Sean Taylor died, because he got shot in that vein and bled out. And there's another one under both arms. So if it gets hit, you can potentially bleed out. So he got hit by the light tube, jagged light tube, and we're sitting there like, oh, he got hit, blah, blah. And everyone on the left, it was on the right side from where I was. He sits there and then he said, I'm cut. And they say he's cut. And he lifts his arm up and you see this gush of like blood just come out. And he grabs his arm and another guy sitting on the other side said, oh, he's fucking dying. And like everyone sitting there like gets up and like runs over to like see, and like they like literally he was as pale as a ghost, and they rushed him to the back because at this point he was losing a lot of blood. And like they said, I knew he was in and out of consciousness just because of what I know about the human body, but I didn't know what happened in the back. And they were saying that he was in and out of consciousness. He was saying, I can go back out there. I can do this. This motherfucker's not going to be better than me. Like, I'm going to show him how tough I am. You know, it was all that machismo that Nick Gage shows in every match he wrestles. Like, and we were trying to get out of there. And the cars were backed up. Traffic was backed up because they were trying to air them out. And we were there for like over an hour of trying to get out, because anyone that has never been to a tournament of death is in DJ Hodge's parents' backyard. Literally in his backyard. It's not a lie. It really is in his backyard. His parents own like crazy acres, and actually in Delaware is the only place that this shit is legal. So that's where they do it.
Yeah.
But yeah, it was crazy.
Yeah, I mean, it sounds crazy, man. I've never been to a tournament of death. I don't know if I'll ever go to one. Maybe.
I don't know if they're still doing them, honestly.
Yeah, I mean, after this, probably not.
No,
It's not great advertising for a tournament of death. But
I mean, you had some great talents come out of it, though. You know, John Moxley, Danny Havoc. Just to mention a few, like, I mean, there were some guys that could actually throw down there, and some guys cut their teeth there.
So I think this is probably a good conversation. We'll get back to Nick Gage in a second, but, you know, deathmatch wrestling, extreme wrestling, it gets a bad rap from, like, people like Cornette, you know, and people who generally, like, you know, actually a lot of people who are more in line with, like, more mainstream wrestling. And you know, a lot of what they have to say is like, oh, it's killing the business, and oh my god, it's like it's just you're just killing yourself for no reason, blah blah blah. And there's so for me, I don't see it as killing the business per se, right? I do have an issue with this specific style of like deathmatch wrestling,
Right.
and doing it week in, week out, every day, like someone like Nick Gage does. And look, it's his prerogative to do what he wants, and you know that's how he makes a living. That's fine. It is what it is, right? But see, for me, it's one of those things where this thing is true to an extent, right? Where it's like it slowly ups the ante every single time, right? Like every single time fans see like this kind of stuff, like light tubes and whatever, it slowly ups the ante. And especially when when this is like all you do, or this is what you're known for, like CZW or you know, all these other XPW, all these other extreme like wrestling promotions, I think it gets to a point where it's not sustainable, because eventually, like, you've seen someone go through a light tube, like table death thing, whatever, like 100 times, right? It's probably still gonna be cool, but it's gonna be no different to I think one of those fans than like a regular table bump to the average wrestling fan to an extent, right?
Right.
So for me, it's like one thing is like I just don't see it. It's weird. I just don't think that's a sustainable thing for not only the fans but for your body. If you're a deathmatch wrestler doing it every week, and if that's all you do. I do think, you know, it's one of those things where it doesn't, like, I don't care about people who say, oh, it hurts wrestling. That's in the eye of the beholder, right? But for me, it's more of just a thing about sustainability. Eventually, you're going to up the ante, you know, probably too far, or eventually it's going to just get old. And, like, well, what's the next big step? Like, how do you, like, what's the next big step over, you know, like lithium light tubes on fire through a table with a barbed wire like ring rub? Like, what's the next step above that? I don't know. And look, these guys are creative, man. I'll give them that. They're creative. But for me, it's just also like, you know, for the wrestlers too, it's like one of those things where it's like, man, like like you're doing this week, like every day in, day out. Like that takes so much out of you. Yeah.
It's funny you mentioned that though, because I feel the same way about it as well. Like it's kind of like, okay, so it's kind of like anything, right? Like in wrestling, you have this one match, and you have to do something else that's higher than that. So you have to do something else higher than that. So you do the Iron Man match. That's 60 minutes. Okay, cool. Let's do that. Then we move over here. 2 out of 3 falls. Let's do that. Then we do the no holds barred matches. Then we move to the unsanctioned matches. Then even WCW way back when had the scaffolding matches, when you have wrestlers fighting on top of scaffolding and they fall down off the scaffolding and onto, you know, pads and shit. Then you move to war games and, you know, so forth and so on, and you have to keep up in the ante. With deathmatch, it's already so fucking ludicrous. How far can you go without someone losing a head? Like seriously. Like, I mean, and it sounds funny to say, but like seriously.
No, you're right. You're right. You're 100% right.
Until somebody loses a leg or loses a limb. I know the death match that we went to, it was bring your own weapon. So you had guys in like on the side that bought weapons for these people to use. Like there was a baseball bat with a plastic baseball bat with a saw blade in it. Then you had like 2x4s wrapped in barbed wire with nails and shit. Then you had one that I thought was really fucking hilarious. It was a baseball bat that had thumbtacks glued to it.
Jesus Christ.
Like, I mean, and like, I guess that's kind of how you like, up to any. But like, even after that, like, where do you go with it? Like, there's also an interesting documentary on CZW itself.
Yeah. I think Vice did that one too. It was
yeah.
What was the name of
years
that?
ago, I think, right?
Yeah. It was a DJ Hyde was in it.
Yeah. I mean, and that's again, anyone into death matches or extreme matches, please watch that documentary. It's absolutely amazing. Even if you think DJ Hyde is a tool, please watch it. It's actually very good. I watched it. Now I'm one of those people. But it was, I mean, the whole thing is interesting. I mean, even Insane Clown Posse had a wrestling federation, ICP. ICW or something.
Yeah, I think it was wasn't that XPW? Maybe
it's something like that. I know they did Extreme Wrestling as well, and that didn't last very long. I don't think it's around anymore. That didn't last very long. But it's just, again, like how far can you? How far is too far, and what else can you do in a death match? Like, I don't mind deathmatch wrestling. I don't think it's killing the sport. I honestly think, like anything, it's just a different genre. You have different genre of movies. You have different genre of comedy. Right. I think it's just a different genre, which is fine. I kind of enjoy it. I mean, it's weird. It's wild to watch, but I kind of enjoy it. But now you're kind of at a standstill, like you were saying. What else can you do?
Yeah. And one of the things that, that does get to me, and it's possibly because, like, we're fans of wrestling, but, like you saw what happened kind of with Nick Gage after his big injury where he literally died. He turned to prescription drugs, and, we've seen that happen a lot in professional wrestling, especially, and that's led to terrible consequences. The Brian Pillman documentary literally aired the week before, and a lot of what led to his downfall and eventually his death was prescription drugs and his reliance on that for the pain that he was always in. And, with deathmatch wrestlers, Dick Gage specifically said, like, yeah, man, like, I was in a lot of pain, and, that's where you turn to when you're in a lot of pain. And so, like, I know how many other deathmatch wrestlers have done the same thing, like Nick Gage's brother, like, I think he even had problems with substance abuse and whatnot. So, I don't hate at all. It's like just one of those things. I have reasons to why I don't prefer like that as a sustainable every week, every day style of wrestling.
Right.
And that's fine. Look, I'm not gonna be Cornette and be like, well, goddamn motherfuckers out here in XPW and GCW and goddamn CZW marks blading each other, throwing fucking concrete light tubes at each other, motherfucking piece of shit. I'm not one of those guys.
I mean, let's just be real. Cornette ran a promotion when motherfuckers bladed each other. Like,
Cornette ran a promotion with New Jack.
Exactly.
Jack, bro. Like that's where
and
New
he
Jack
pushed
got his
New Jack.
He pushed New Jack. He pushed the gangsters to the moon. Like New Jack was saying crazy shit. He was doing crazy shit. They were smoking fucking pencil shavings before matches. It's wild for Cornette to like do that. And again, I actually like Cornette. I think he has a good mind for the business, and I do like the old school mentality to an extent. But he takes it too far. By far, he takes it way too far. But.
Yes. He definitely does.
Anyway,
but again, I like him as well, but I agree with you. He takes it way.
Oh, goddamn motherfuckers! Extra cheese with the mayo and onions, motherfucker.
I feel like if it's not his way, it doesn't fly.
Yeah, not at all. But going back to Nick Gage, man, let's just put a bow on the discussion of Nick Gage, man.
Absolutely. Yeah.
I think the story of Nick Gage being told on Dark Side of the Ring is important because. We hear about these promotions like XPW, GCW, and CZW very, very faintly. And a lot of these promotions came up after ECW went out of business. We kind of heard the extreme story, like the story of, ECW wrestling, like from Dark Side of the Ring, and like what came out of that, and those wrestlers through the New Jack documentary in a lot of ways, right? And I think this was an important documentary to do because it kind of gave you like the aftermath of ECW. It was kind of like, in a weird way, an extension of the New Jack documentary that Dark Side of the Ring did, in a way, because it showed you, the promotions that came after ECW and the mentality of a lot of these extreme hardcore wrestlers, these deathmatch wrestlers, and the evolution of deathmatch wrestling after ECW went out of business. And I thought that was really important for people to find out, for wrestling fans and fans of sports in general to find out, because Nick Gage's story isn't just, the story of just him. It's good. A lot of this applies to this mentality, especially that he has, applies to many other deathmatch wrestlers who probably haven't made it to the big stage. There's like, for every Joey Janela, John Moxley, there's like probably 10, 15, like Nick Gage's are people who have never been signed by a major wrestling promotion and likely never will be. So I thought that was a very important story to tell. And that was aside from Nick Gage himself, because he's also quite the character.
Yeah, Nick Gage is a very, very interesting character. But I will say, just like you said, putting a bow on it, I will say I enjoyed watching this documentary again. Motherfucking Nick Gage, I loved him. I thought he was I love him. He's one of my favorites. He's, to this day, still one of my favorites. And yes, I am pushing for John Moxley, Nick Gage. I am pushing for it. He showed up in CCW. It made it seem like it was gonna happen. I am pushing for two of my favorites.
Oh man, Tony. I don't know if Tony Khan. I don't know if Tony. I mean, look. I think you could probably do that match in CZW. That might be the.
Oh no, it's not gonna happen in AEW. No,
AEW, you can't. No, Nick Gage can't. No. And it's not that Nick Gage can't. I just think Tony Khan's just gonna be like, I'm not having this guy on my feet.
No.
It's not even about light tubes, man. It's about when Nick Gage will literally like they will get thrown off TNT if Nick Gage.
Nick Gage just slice Moxley open and lick it. It was just yeah. But no, it was good to watch, and I can't wait for next week.
Oh yeah, dude! Collusion in Korea. I'm glad you brought that up. That is for those of you who don't know. I didn't want to do a full preview of it because I feel like it's gonna get it's a lot to add to the show. But dude, that Collusion in Korea thing, I can't wait to talk about it next week because that's one of the most interesting shows to get a behind the scenes look at, because you got so many different aspects of it. You got parts of Japanese wrestling with Antonio Inoki helping broker the deal with WCW, New Japan, and the North Korean government to do this biggest wrestling show ever, literally 100,000 people each night on a 2-night event with Ric Flair, Eric Bischoff on the announce team, all these WCW and New Japan legends. It's a crazy story, man. I can't wait to talk about it.
Absolutely.
Yeah, and for those of you who don't know, this, there's a lot of behind the scenes stories that are wild. Like Scott Steiner, apparently, this is just a one quick thing. Scott Steiner apparently. So one of the things about North Korea is, they're a isolated dictatorial regime, a country that doesn't have access to the same quality of food. The general public doesn't have access to the same quality of food as a lot of people around the world do. And a lot of people who go there describe the food that they're given as sometimes being old or inedible. So Scott Steiner is in a buffet line in North Korea, talking it up, being like, yeah, you saw I got the 2 chickens plus the 3 equals 7 I got back in the office, and then I got doing his little Steiner math thing, and he apparently he goes to grab his piece of chicken, and he looks at it, and he's like, I'm not gonna eat this shit, and he throws it on the floor in front of the North Korean officials that are there, in front of everybody that's there, because those of you who don't know, man, those North Korean officials follow you everywhere. You're being shadowed at all times over there.
That's fucking crazy.
And there was this incident literally almost got Scott Steiner locked up. This was very serious because it was seen disrespectful. So I think they're gonna mention that. But man, there's a if you haven't heard, Eric Bischoff did an 83 weeks episode about this before. Yeah. So go back and listen to that. It's a Collision in Korea episode. And this was a while back. I don't remember exactly when he did it, but yeah, go check that out. It's gonna be a great show. I can't wait. I can't wait to watch it because it's gonna be cool. I think.
Yeah, it's gonna be fun. It's gonna be a lot of fun.
We have fun on Friday nights, Mahal. Yeah, the people are having fun. They're throwing beach balls. Mahal. Bro. All right, moving on. Our fan question of the week, Trevor. We had a few. One of them was, sing your favorite pro wrestling theme song. I think we can answer that before we get to our real one. Go, Trevor. Favorite pro wrestling theme song. Sing it.
Shit. Favorite? Damn, that's a good one. One of them is probably Shawn Michaels. Yeah.
Okay, go for it.
Oh, this is great. Things I do for love.
Or how about this? I'll sing yours. You sing mine.
Okay.
Yeah. All right.
Okay.
Dude. I think I'm cute. I got gold medals. Now I'm just doing the Kurt Angle version. I got the moves.
Oh, Kurt Angle version was hilarious.
The Angle Slam. The Angle Rock. Marty Jannetty. Still can't.
Oh, this is great. Oh, that was great. You don't have to sing the whole thing.
Okay, I think, yeah. Like, you just get a sample here. You get the full version on patreon.com/Real Take Sports, baby.
Exactly.
Oh my God. All right. The one I want to hear you sing the Big Show song, and not the well, it's the big. I want to hear the well. Like, I want the old one.
Big Show.
Come on, go for it. Go.
You know what? I don't even know all the words to that one, but I know it's
just hum it. You got this. Just go.
Well, it's the Big Show. It's a really big show tonight. Well, in the words of The Rock, well, it's the big slow.
I could have very easily made you sing Candice Michelle's theme song and just made you quit the show. All eyes on me, mom. Oh my God.
That was a great one. Oh, that was a good one. I like that one. That was a good one.
All right. Moving on to our real fan question.
Oh, you know another one that we should touch on that I actually...
Another theme song?
No.
There's more.
The question that you ran past me today about the 3 wrestlers alive or dead that you would have dinner with.
Oh, okay. You want to do that one?
You want to do 2? Or you want to just do 3?
No, we can do it, dude. We got time. We can do that. We can do those questions too. So, sure. All right. So one of the fan questions we got this week: if you had dinner with 3 wrestlers, alive or dead, who would they be? And mind you, you're having dinner at the same time. I made that rule. But
you made that rule.
Yeah, you're having dinner with these people at the same time. 3 wrestlers you would have dinner with, dead or alive. Who do you got, Trevor?
Okay, so most people are like, he's gonna pick. I know he's gonna pick. You don't know who I'm gonna pick. I'm gonna say one being Brody Lee.
Oh, okay.
You know what? He's just such a nice guy. From what I've known him, he's such a nice dude. I think sitting down to a meal with him would be great. But you gotta spice it up a little bit. So, Bruiser Brody.
Okay, I like that.
Bruiser Brody, got to spice it up just a little bit. And I think one guy whom I never got a chance to meet him. I've seen him wrestle and never got a chance to meet him. But we talked about it earlier, Eddie Guerrero.
Okay.
Never got a chance to meet Eddie, and I thought it would have been great to meet him. I love this product, never met him. But those are my 3.
Yeah, man. I feel like having dinner with Eddie, that would be cool, man. He just seems like a funny guy, just like loving, but a hilarious guy, backstage.
Was the same thing. He was He was such a nice dude. I mean, like of course he had his drug problems too, but he was such a nice guy.
Nobody's perfect.
Exactly. He was such a nice guy, and like he was great with his family, and he was so family oriented because the Guerrero name is about family wrestling, and so I think that would be great to do. Would have been great to do.
Yeah, I like that. I like those picks actually. See, for me, I kind of those three. I kind of spaced it out a little bit. So I picked one current day wrestler, one wrestler from like the old gold dust like 1920s 1930s era of wrestling, because I'm a huge like nerd about wrestling history.
Right.
And then like one wrestler who passed away, who like from like the more so the modern ish era. So for me, from the golden era, the gold dust era, from like the early wrestling era, I picked the Great Gama. And for those of you who don't know, the Great Gama was like the first ever big wrestling star from India. Yes, before the Great Khali. And this was back when India and Pakistan were the same region, the same colony at the time. And he was actually from the same city that I was born in. So Gama, I thought was like Gama was like one of those weird, like it was weird because he was like this big time attraction, because people are like, there's this beast, this monster, this absolute freak coming from the east, the original beast in the east, to go wrestle all of these big time wrestlers like Luthez. I believe he had a matchup with Ed Lewis as well. And they built these matchups as big threats to these long-standing world champions. And Gama was like one of those guys. Like he stretched you. Like he would like he was a big burly kind of guy. Like he had a bit of a gut, but like it was back in the days where that was a sign. Like you didn't need a six-pack back in the day. That was a sign of like strength. You know what I'm saying?
True.
Like you couldn't really tackle him. He was and he had a very interesting look with his mustache. And like I just like getting like maybe like some of those stories of like what it was like being also like from that region, and going to wrestle all these cool people around the world, and just the time and the era. Like I think that would be like a great like conversation to have.
That would be good.
Yeah. So the second person, and this is the current day, like, modern, he's still alive kind of deal, is Daniel Bryan. Because I didn't
want to be cliche, because there's certain wrestlers I have talked about. That's why I didn't want to be too cliche.
Yeah, I mean, like for me, it's like it comes down to like Daniel Bryan's like my all-time, forever favorite wrestler ever. Like I literally think he is the all-around best wrestler ever. We'll get into that in a minute, but but Daniel Bryan, like in the ring, he's the best. Just like, dude, he's just amazing at like everything he does. Just picking his brain. Like, just imagine like sitting down. I feel like sitting down with him for like 20 minutes talking about wrestling would be like the most informative and like coolest 20 minutes of my life. Because I feel like he's got this insane like mentality about it, and you could learn so much and so much psychology from him. Because he really loves wrestling. That's like the biggest thing. He loves wrestling so much. So like that's one reason. The other reason is like him out of the ring is like apparently the nicest person ever. Like the absolute nicest person ever. I would love to talk to him, especially about politics. Mine and his politics really align, especially when it comes to like environmental issues and stuff. So that'd be cool for me. He probably wouldn't order the steak, which was just fine. And the third wrestler, kind of from like from a generation before, would be Owen Hart. And again, that's probably a cliche as well. But dude,
another one I was thinking about. But
yeah, I hear all these stories about Owen Hart ribbing people. I hear all these stories about Owen Hart, like being like the nicest guy ever. That's like someone I want to meet. That's definitely someone that you want to meet. I want to hear the stories from like the horse's mouth. I want to hear Owen Hart telling me about him ribbing Vince McMahon by impersonating Stu Hart. I mean, like,
oh yeah, I heard that story.
Vince, you damn bastard. You gotta push Owen, Vince. Big bastard.
Like,
Why does your Stu Hart impersonation sound like a constipated old man?
That's what Stu Hart was.
Well, he was. He was very much so.
Listen to any interview he did, like, you know, in like the 90s or whatever. That's what he sounds like. Yeah, you big bastard. You gotta stretch him. But you know, Owen Hart, man, like that's big on my list because like he's also just like, just seems like such a cool guy.
Good one. Those are three good ones. Yeah, definitely.
Yeah.
And you know how I feel about Owen, so yeah.
Enough is enough, and it's time for a change.
I'm not a nugget.
I'm the Black Heart. When they had Owen Hart join the Nation of Domination, look, he more believable than D'Lo. I can honestly say that.
Everybody's more believable than D'Lo.
It's the real deal now. Hey, piss on the seat. That's a song you don't want to hear me sing. All right, let's get to our real fan question of the week. Oh my God. So, the best all-around performer in the history of pro wrestling, in your opinion, Trevor, who do you think it is?
So who asked this one this week?
I gotta look this up. This was another one from Jamie.
I love this guy or girl. So, all right, I'm gonna say it, and I'm going to get so much heat for it, and I don't fucking care. I really don't, because this has come from several legends' mouth. One of my favorites, one of the greatest in-ring performers I have ever seen, Shawn Michaels.
Okay.
Shawn, I mean, like, let's just talk about what he's done. Like, he was the first Grand Slam champion. He wrestled for years, hurt. Like, I mean, like, absolutely hurt. To think of the names that he's trained: Shannon Moore, Lance Cade, just to name two. Like, Daniel Bryan has spent some time in Shawn Michaels' school. Like he has trained some great names. Like, and he loves the business. He loves the business. He literally stopped performing the first time because he felt like he physically couldn't do it anymore. He came back for a one-off deal because they said, "Hey, you can do it, but I wouldn't do it all the time." He pulled the edge before Edge pulled the edge. He worked out. He did everything to get back into this ring, and he did it for another 10, 12 years.
Yeah.
Like, I mean, I understand a lot of people, the names people would throw out: Bret Hart, Dean Malenko, Eddie Guerrero. I understand
Dean Malenko. I don't look. We all love the Dean Malenko. I don't think anyone's thinking he's the best all-around performer in pro wrestling history.
You'd be surprised. But no, I mean, there are names. Shit, I mean, honestly, Scott Steiner can definitely be thrown out there. More so Rick Steiner. But Shawn Michaels is my pick for every reason I said. Like I said, he come straight out of the horse's mouth. Ric Flair said it. Jericho said it. It's been said time and time again. That's my pick.
Okay. And it was close for me because I do think Shawn Michaels. So for me, it was almost a three-way tie. Mm-hmm. But I would say that like Shawn Michaels and Ric Flair, as far as being all-around performers, are like right there. Because like for me, all-around performers means like, you know, I take into account promos. I take into account, you know, in the ring. Right. I take into account like you know, their performance in the ring, their moments and whatnot, their connection with the fans. For me, and again, I am wholeheartedly biased, and I say this, but I genuinely believe Daniel Bryan is the best all-around performer in the history of pro wrestling, and it's for multiple reasons. Because, I don't think a lot of people argue that Daniel Bryan is at least tied with Bret Hart for being the best technical wrestler in wrestling history. I think that's a consensus at this point. At least tied. I would have him be the best because if you watch a lot of his stuff from the Indies, especially when he was allowed to do a lot more, he was the best technical wrestler. But you got that. And then you get like the evolution of Bryan into the yes movement, like his connection with the fans. There's literally no one in wrestling history outside of The Rock and Stone Cold, I think, who've had the same level of like connection with the fans that Daniel Bryan has had since that 2013 era of when he came down. Because like the fans go nuts whenever Daniel Bryan's out there. They literally lose their minds. He's like one of the only people who got the Austin pop for like the longest time. Like crowds were like crowds from like 2007 or 2008 to 2012, 2013 were pretty dead for the most part.
Yeah.
And then like the yes movement comes along. You got the chants coming back. You got like the like one of the big moments, I think, like of bringing those chants back, of bringing like fans interaction and those crowds back, was the Daniel Bryan losing the World Championship at WrestleMania 28. Because the next night, all you heard was Daniel Bryan and yes, yes, yes chants all night.
It was.
And then like that really, I think, really like led to like all like now like wrestling fans are chanting everything, and like those are back, and it makes the matches more fun. And Daniel Bryan was able to do that because of his connection with the crowd. And you can argue no one who's had a connection like that with the crowd, not even Austin, not The Rock by far, is as good a technical wrestler as Daniel Bryan. You go to in-ring performance. He's able to tell a story. He's a sympathetic babyface, and you hate him as a heel. Because when he was doing that environmental gimmick with Kofi Kingston and calling Kofi Kingston a B+ player, you hated Daniel Bryan. You hated him. You couldn't stand him.
And I honestly hated that gimmick at first, but until he went to that program with Kofi Kingston, I thought it was gold after that point.
Whatever Daniel Bryan does, he makes it amazing. Like tenfold gold. Like that gimmick, he made gold. They're coming out with a hemp title, coming out like throwing the WWE Championship into the trash can. That's not gonna work with anyone except for Daniel Bryan.
No.
And then you got like just him wrestling, him in the ring, telling the story. He's amazing at it, and it's just like when you think about it, that alongside like is there a better technical wrestler who can cut promos? Like, no. Who can cut as good promos? No. Bret Hart? No, he could never cut as good promos as Daniel Bryan.
I never thought his promos were great. I mean, a lot of people thought he was a great promo. I don't think so.
He cut some good. He said some really good ones in '97. Really good ones in '97.
He really did. But like overall, but outside of that, never. I don't think it was that great.
Yeah,
because I thought he talked like a robot. I really did.
Yeah, and to me, Daniel Bryan, dude, I think his retirement speech. Like I know it wasn't like a full on. I know it wasn't a promo. That's like one of those moments, man. That's gonna like live on as like one of the best like television segments in wrestling history. Because you go back and watch that speech, man, you feel the pain. You feel like, and it's all off the cuff. And you're crying. You're literally in tears because this guy is laying out his heart to you. And it's real. And it's emotional. And you give a fuck. You care. So like that's like the and that like that a lot of that wasn't even performance. But I do think that Daniel Bryan, to me, like for all the reasons I've said, like no technical wrestler has as good credentials and as promos and connection to the fans and everything as Daniel Bryan. And I think he makes everything he does work. He's, for me, the best all-around performer in wrestling history.
I can't argue with that one. I think there are some people that maybe be able to, top that in later years. Because honestly, some people would argue that Kenny Omega is up there.
Oh yeah, dude, Kenny Omega's amazing.
Yeah,
amazing.
Absolutely.
Dude, I've seen him wrestle a broom, and it got over. Like,
first off, the greatest wrestler of an inanimate object is Brian Pillman for wrestling a pencil. Fuck you. Fuck everybody.
Oh my god, that was amazing. Amazing.
But yeah, I agree. I definitely agree.
Yeah. Outside of that, I would have said Gorgeous George because, man, for those of you who don't know, Gorgeous George is fucking G, man. Go look up Gorgeous.
Oh, my man Lenny Poffo, the genius, my man.
The genius Lenny Poffo. I'm not doing a Lenny Poffo impersonation, but Gorgeous George, guys, if you haven't seen him, like for that golden era, 1950s of wrestling, go check out some Gorgeous George promos because a lot of those promos, like, really, man, they were great. Like, there's literally nothing like that in that era of wrestling.
No.
He
he was an anomaly in that era. He was
a pure anomaly in that era. And like, look, if you like Muhammad Ali, if you like James Brown, even those two, they got that swagger. They got their lines. Muhammad Ali, literally almost word for word, was like riffing off of old George quotes, like literally, like when he's like, I'm pretty. He stole that from Gorgeous George. Like George literally had a promo where I think he was saying like, it's like, I'm beautiful, I'm so pretty. If that sucker touches me in the face, I'll kill him. He messes my hair, I'll pummel him. Like he had so much swagger. Like this is Gorgeous George saying this, not Muhammad Ali. like Gorgeous George saying it. He had so much swagger for that era. Like he was literally nothing like it. He was Ric Flair before Ric Flair. He was Buddy Rogers, the Nature Boy Buddy Rogers before Buddy Rogers. Like wrestling doesn't take the trajectory it takes or the direction it takes with promos if it's not for Gorgeous George. So like, if you want
another one that I was thinking about was, and we don't talk about him at all on the show, Shane Douglas. Shane Douglas. We don't talk about Douglas at all, and I mean his promos weren't amazing, but when he was allowed to wrestle, because he had went on a stint in WWF where he just came out and talked and didn't wrestle at all. But when he was allowed to wrestle, Shane Douglas was a hell of a wrestler.
Yeah, look, I mean, I actually like Shane Douglas, but man, his promos are all just fuck Ric Flair. That's literally all what his promos are. his
promos are awful, absolutely awful. Like
you'll ask him a question. It's like, hey, Shane, what did you have to eat this morning? Fuck Ric Flair. Like that's literally the answer to everything.
And some eggs. Like that's pretty much what it was. But like before all that, Shane was one of my favorites too. So
okay, hey. You're allowed to have fun, Michael. We and if you like this show, remember to subscribe for more videos, Michael. All right, moving on. Huh?
I think that was the first time you said add, like, subscribe to today.
I'm doing a terrible job today, aren't I? Be sure, in all seriousness, if you haven't already, be sure to like, share, and subscribe to the channel. We got daily videos. You got Real Take Wrestle Talk on Tuesday nights, Real Take Sports Talk I had last night. Clipping those. Got some more videos coming out. Gonna do biggest takeaways from Dark Side of the Ring as well when that premieres. So check all that out whenever that happens. Moving on, Trevor. Let's talk about AEW. Been a long time coming to this news. We took almost a full 2 hours to talk about AEW, but alas, we're here. Friday Night Dynamite is going to happen, the May 28th edition of AEW Dynamite, which will serve as the go-home to Double or Nothing, will be held on a Friday night. The show will go head-to-head with Friday Night SmackDown because the regular Wednesday broadcast has been preempted by the NBA playoffs. The same thing happened last year. I believe during the NBA playoffs, they had to move Dynamite over to a Friday night. And the big question a lot of people have is, could this be a little bit of a test for AEW? They're doing better in the ratings. They're consistently getting over 1 million people in the ratings, and they've been doing a lot better than they have been. What do we think about Dynamite, with this momentum going head-to-head with SmackDown, especially given that it's their go-home show to one of their biggest shows of the entire year? What do you think of that? What do you make of this?
Honestly, so honestly, I don't think the move would happen if the playoffs were happening, honestly. But,
right. Tony Khan, by the way, just so people know, he said that Dynamite is never gonna Wednesday night is the night that he wants to do it. This was they already knew they were gonna be preempted because of the NBA playoffs. That's part of their deal. They're fine with that. So yeah.
But yeah, I mean, again, I don't think it would have happened because of that. But it's gonna be interesting because, like we mentioned earlier, SmackDown has been one of the most consistent shows especially from WWE, which isn't that hard to do, for the past few months, and especially weeks. It's a good product, and AEW has been just killing it as well. So it's honestly going to be interesting to see the numbers after that May 28th show. I mean, because to me, this is the big test. You know, I mean, they went against NXT, and call it what you want to call it, Triple H or Marks, call it what you want to call it. It was never a competition. And Raw is an amazing show. Duh. Like, but like, I mean, it's just one of those things that we know that you may not come out and say it, but that was the case. And now you have another chance to try to do better numbers than AEW.
Yeah.
One of the more popular shows. So it's just going to be interesting to see what both shows' product is going to be putting out, and which one the fans gravitate to. You know, because I honestly believe it's going to be a lot of channel flicking.
Yeah, I agree with you. I was going to mention that. Like, I really do think that this is going to be like. This is, to me, kind of feels more so like that channel flipping Monday Night Wars type vibe, you know, than the NXT versus AEW thing was, because a lot of those crowds, they were, you know, there was very little overlap, as we saw, because you know, we saw like what the ratings for both shows combined were somewhere around 1.5 million, and then like, you know, like. And like 1.5 million to 1.7, and then when AEW went off and did its own thing, they're about getting 1 million people to watch. Like sometimes over 1.1, 1.2 sometimes, but that they're still around that 1 million number. So there's still so there's a very little bit of overlap between those fans. A lot of those camps were already decided, right? With SmackDown, I think it's going to be interesting because a lot of people, even AEW fans, love SmackDown. Inarguably, SmackDown's been the best WWE show there is consistently since, you know, basically since like around like the start of the year. So I think there's gonna be a bit of that vibe, and it's gonna be an interesting test for both AEW and SmackDown, because AEW, I think, is gonna end up losing some viewers. Like let's not like act like, you know, AEW is gonna go out there and like, oh, they're gonna bury SmackDown ratings. That's not gonna happen. That's not gonna happen.
No.
But it is going to be interesting to see how many people they take away from SmackDown, and how many people, you know, like do a bit of a channel flipping, because SmackDown's been like, you know, right around the 2 million mark, sometimes under. I think last week they had 1.9 million. They fell right under that 2 million mark.
And AEW's been consistently 2 million, or
no, AEW's been like between 1 million and like 1.2, 1.3 since they went alone on Wednesday nights. So it's going to be an interesting matchup, because I do think there's a more overlap here than there was with NXT. And it's just going to be really interesting on Saturday when those ratings, or it's not going to be Saturday. I think it's going to be Monday when those ratings come out, because the ratings come out like on the following business day. But yeah, it's going to be
interesting though, because I mean, you gotta think that AEW is going to, I mean, try to put their A game. You know what I mean? Like they're probably gonna have a TNT championship title with the new title holder, and Rusev, or the best man, as he's called. Then of course you gotta at least have Kenny Omega on the show. You know, it's gonna be interesting to see what type of program they throw together.
Yeah, fully agree. I do think both shows are kind of gonna bring like a bit of like it all to an extent. I think you know, SmackDown like WWE loves to like, you know, book shows like to be big, especially when they're going against AEW. And this is a big show for AEW. It's their go home show to one of their biggest pay-per-views of the year. So I think they're gonna pull out all the stops. It's gonna be fun. I'm gonna be flipping channels. Friday night's gonna be a fun night on May 28th.
Absolutely. Can't wait to watch it.
Can't wait to watch it, and I can't wait for people watching this to like, share, and subscribe to the channel if you haven't already. Daily videos, wrestling, sports, football, NFL, everything. Because I'm a mad genius. less so that latter part. But I like to talk about sports. Really love it, and I love to give you guys the entertainment. Trevor, let's switch gears. From talking about the show on May 28th, and let's talk about some tension between the executive vice president of AEW, of All Elite Wrestling. There has been reported tensions between the executive vice presidents of All Elite Wrestling. This past week on the Wade Keller Pro Wrestling podcast, Pro Wrestling's Torches Wade Keller reported that there's been a rumored spat between a lot of the executive vice presidents, which are Cody Rhodes, Kenny Omega, and the Young Bucks. And during the discussion, it was said that there's going to be a book written someday by some of the EVPs or someone closely observing the situation, and we're going to learn a lot about the dysfunction. We're going to learn that there was a very short honeymoon period, and there was between certain key people in the company who aren't even talking to each other anymore, and I think we're going to find out about that. And, you know, it's interesting that this was said because we know that the Elite, they came into this very close. Like, this was a very close-knit group, and that's why they started this wrestling company together and really wanted to make it work, and they have made it work. But I think we're seeing that a little bit, like, when the ball finally gets rolling on these things, the different philosophies come out of pro wrestling, and we're seeing a little bit of that kind of come out, like the different voices. You know, I think might be a little bit of a power thing of who has more influence a little bit in these decisions. Mind you, at the end of the day, Tony Khan runs everything. Like, everything goes through Tony Khan. If he doesn't want it to happen, it's not going to happen. It was also said that by Wade Keller that, quote, I know there are people in other pro wrestling companies saying the Bucks, Cody, and Kenny, it's not going to be long before they all want nothing to do with each other. So that got to me. That got to me where I was like, ooh, this is like means something. But what do you think about these initial reports of tension between the executive vice presidents, and do we think it's, you know, a little bit of speculation, or is this just kind of healthy types of discussions that are getting overblown?
I mean, I think in every business scenario, you have your situations where tensions flare, and and people get fed up and things like that. And now it could be a very tumultuous situation. It could be a lot of, we don't know exactly what's going on. It could be what they say it is, but also at the end of the day, it could also be just speculation, because how the media likes to blow shit out of proportion, even when it comes to sports entertainment. Like, I mean, it'd be a killer story to say that the four people that help make all elite wrestling are at each other's throats. Like, I mean, it makes for an interesting story. It also makes for an interesting podcast. So, which is why we're doing it. But it's just one of those things. Like, I don't know. When it comes to stuff like that, I tend to believe more of what I can physically find for myself instead of something that comes out of other people's mouths. And like and you don't see any tension in the product. And you would think if there was something that bad going on, there would be some dissension in the organization, and there would be like a dent in the actual product, because these guys are still performers at the end of the day. So you would see something change in that, and I haven't seen it yet, so I can't say it's false or true.
Yeah, and I think it's a little bit overblown. A lot of people, I think, are blowing it out of proportion because Cody has kind of been separate from the Young Bucks and Kenny for a while, like on TV and storyline, and a lot of people are pointing at that as like, oh my god, they never want to work with each other again. They're done. Like, I don't think that's true. Like, I think
Cody's already said he's comfortable being a mid-carder, so.
That and he is. He's basically put himself in that position. But I think that, like, that's really overblown because, dude, like, you want these guys, these four people, to be together all the time? No, that's not feasible. No. Cody Rhodes should be a singles act by himself, as a draw. Kenny Omega and the Young Bucks together makes sense because they're like they serve as Kenny Omega's heater in this faction. So they're doing things that make sense wrestling wise. I think it's a little overblown. Dave Meltzer, who consistently talks to these guys, like, he's very close with the Young Bucks, very close with Kenny Omega, close with people in All Elite Wrestling. He said about this, quote, Cody is more of a business relationship with the other three, but it's not an adversarial one in the least. And they all have the same goals, which is to help build the company to sustainable growth. They have different philosophies, but everyone in wrestling does based on where you grew up, when you grew up, your life experience. But at the end of the day, Tony runs the show, and ultimately it's Tony's philosophy. All want a diverse approach, and you can argue whether that's good or bad, but that is what they all seem to agree on. I like you said, and like I think we all hinted at too. I think it's just a little bit of a like healthy disagreement, because you don't want like the same voices, like the same ideas being thrown out, because then you get just like what you have in WWE, which is everyone just throws out ideas for Vince McMahon instead of throwing out good ideas. And like Tony Khan kind of acts like a filter, I think, for all of their ideas, which is good, because while he has final say, he's hearing different things, and he's understanding these different approaches that they're taking, and it's a bit of a mixed thing between all of them. While as in WWE, you have the writers literally writing, like wrestlers and writers have come out and said this. You don't write for wrestling, you don't write for the talent, you write for Vince. You write ideas that Vince will like. Whereas I think in AEW, it's kind of like they focus on, you write on what makes sense and we write about the wrestling, and then Tony Khan just kind of approves it or tweaks it or does whatever, which I think is a better approach than what WWE does. So I don't think it's that big of a deal. If it is, we'll find out in like 20 years when the Young Bucks write a book about it. Because if there's anyone who's gonna write a book about it, it's stuff in the Young Bucks. I promise you, they write a book about it.
I mean, they have one book already, so they'll probably write another one.
It's like Faith Plus One, the end of AEW. There we go, another song they sung today. Let's get to our final story for tonight. Let's get to the dream match between Kenny Omega and Andrade. After being teased earlier in the month, the match between former WWE star Andrade and AEW World Champion Kenny Omega will happen. Mexican promotion Lucha Libre AAA announced today at a press conference that the two will collide at Triple Mania later this year on August 14th. Omega's AAA Mega Championship will be on the line. The show will take place in front of a limited capacity of fan in Mexico City's arena, and marking the first time in over a year that fans are going to be attending a AAA event. So this was rumored for a while. We know Andrade was kind of making a decision where he might go. He's shown up in AAA a little bit. He's shown up in doing some spot shows. But we now know that he's going to be in AAA. He's going to be wrestling Kenny Omega for his Mega Championship down there in Mexico. What do we think of this? It's not gonna happen until August, but what do you think of the match, and what do you think could possibly be involved in the build-up?
I would love if Andrade showed up on AEW, to help sell it a little more. I mean, I would love to see him come on Impact too. I mean, because we really don't know his contract on AAA, and a lot of the performers in AAA do have open contracts where they can perform other places, which is why Kenny's allowed to perform at AEW and Impact, and also the other company. I think it's gonna be a good one. I actually love the work Andrade does. I think he's a great performer, a great wrestler. I honestly believe WWE did what WWE does and almost killed a great talent. He's better for leaving WWE. And honestly, like we were talking about how Impact is stepping their game up and things like that. I would like to see him on Impact, honestly. But this match is going to show a lot of people who don't know what Andrade can actually do against Kenny Omega. Because, so a lot of the guys that Kenny has wrestled, like Rich Swann, we said he did a good job against Kenny, but he gassed out. I don't see that happening with Andrade. I feel Andrade and Kenny are both going to go full tilt, and it's going to be a hell of a match. I don't see either one of them outperforming the other. I see it being a stalemate of great performance. So I can't wait for it. I think it's going to be a great.
It's gonna be amazing. Like Andrade in WWE was like by far one of the most underrated performers like there was, because he was having like, just the best match in NXT. Like, he had a match with I think was it Johnny Gargano he had at NXT New Orleans, like something like that. Oh my god, that like he had an NXT Championship match that was amazing, dude. Like out of this
world.
Gargano
tore the house down, man. And they have every time they wrestle against each other.
He's money, and I want to see him with Kenny Omega because I haven't seen that match yet. Like, these are two of the best workers in the world, best performers in the ring in the world, and I think, you know, with the Mega title on the line, it's going to be a big test for Kenny Omega of him being like, you know, this champion of champions, like just collecting all the belts. It's going to be a big test for him. I can't wait to see it, and I can't wait to preview the match later on. Again, would love to see him, just like you said, would love to see Andrade show up in AEW. And likewise, I think that's the forbidden door has opened thanks to Tony Khan and his diplomacy. So I think that's gonna happen at some point. And that would be a great build up for AAA, and it'd be great for AEW. They'd be able to get some fans from Mexico and eventually, like, you know, work towards running a market there eventually and running a show there. Which, again, it works. It works. This is like big territory vibes from this, and I love it.
This is great for wrestling. Again, like we said time and time again, we enjoy what's great for wrestling. This is great for wrestling. And big ups to Tony Khan and AAA for you know, just doing great business. Like, if there was an award for great business as far as like wrestling's concerned, Tony would probably get it. Tony and AEW will probably get it right now. He's doing such a great job. I mean, you gotta think the next step is probably NWA. It's got to be.
I mean, they've already been working a little bit with NWA. Remember, they brought in didn't Thunder Rosa originally have like a contract with NWA?
Nick Aldis coming over. Ooh. I think that's the next step.
Oh my God! Could you imagine if Omega beats Aldis for that for the I don't even know what to call it, that belt, that silver fucking bump on the head belt. I don't even know. Silver balls. I'm gonna call it the silver ball belt because it's got big ass like silver ball in the middle of it.
You leave this prestigious belt alone now.
Oh no, the big gold belt was a prestigious NWA title, man. That was Big Goldie. I'm someone who loves and fawns over wrestling history. I hate the NWA World Championship. Like, that belt design. It's not great.
It's awful. It's awful.
Yeah.
Goldie was a sexy bitch. She was.
Hey, look, it's only good when you hold it like this. Like the champions that hold it like this, like, you know, you can get away with it. You can't wear it when you wear it around your belt.
You can't wear it away.
You look stupid.
It looks like a belt that was made for like clowns or something. It looks terrible.
It looks like the CZW titles. I'm playing. The prestigious CZW World Championship. I'm sorry.
Yes, it's very prestigious. You leave it alone.
Oh my God, I'm so sorry, DJ Hyde. My condolences. Like,
fuck that too.
All right. Trevor, final takes. Anything we missed? Anything you want to talk about?
These questions are freaking amazing, actually. And can we get more people besides Jamie to write more questions?
Hey man, they send them in. It's not my fault. They send them in. I just take.
No, it's not your fault. It's not your fault at all. It's Jamie's fault for being such a big fan. No, I'm kidding.
Jamie and Sasha are 2-time questions. We had another. I forgot who the other person was. There was another question.
But I'm loving these questions. I definitely am. Oh, and I will be out of town this weekend, and I'm actually going to be filming some stuff. That will be coming soon. So
be sure to follow my man at Trevor Tame. It's right there, right under him. Point at it, Trev. Point at it, so the people know. Other side, buddy. Other side. There we go. If you see the old Twitter logo up there. There we go. There we go. Don't touch it like that.
It was too tender.
Yeah. Jesus. But yeah, it is what it is. We're gonna see what happens there. Follow my man Trevor at Trevortainment, spelled just like that. Take a screenshot of that right now. And yeah, we'll see you guys next week. Trevor, have fun in Nolans, down south, baby. South, baby. Have fun down there, buddy. It's gonna be fun. Also, if you guys haven't, remember to like, share, subscribe to the channel for daily videos.
Also, Cheap Pop. It's my birthday Sunday. If you wanna wish me a happy birthday, just go to Trevor Entertainment.
Another year, another hip replacement. We'll see you guys next week. We'll see you guys next week for Real Take Wrestle Talk. Be sure to check out Real Take Sports Talk on Monday. Real Take Wrestle Talk next Tuesday. We're going to be previewing AEW Double or Nothing. And that, which, you know, our AEW previews are also always awesome. We love them. We also love you guys. Thanks for watching. Trevor, say bye to the people.
Bye, people.
Bye, people. And in the words of New Jack, I'm a crazy motherfucker. We'll see you next week.